This is Laney Brackett. As an Inglemoor Senior, she is not only planning to graduate with her IB degree, but she's been championing her own nonprofit aimed at student mental health for teens. Isn't that amazing? What I want you to see here is the through line, the possibilities that one student can make, the difference when we all come together through communities, through support, through dedicated teachers and administrators, and of course, an incredible foundation. We're working to make sure that every student can find their passion the same way Laney has. Laney Brackett, ladies and gentlemen.
In the time it takes me to finish saying this sentence, someone in this country will have taken their own life. Each one of us is on our own mental health journey. Whether visible, verbalized, or not, we all have a mental health story, either our own or one that has affected us or our families deeply. Hello, my name is Laney Brackett, and I'm a senior in the IB program at Inglemoor High School. Just like all of you, I have a mental health story, and today I'm here to shed some light on mental well-being. I was diagnosed with anxiety at the age of 5. I couldn't speak in preschool or kindergarten. I was what they like to call a mute. I remember crying almost every morning on our drive to school. Oftentimes, I held onto my mom's car door handle for dear life at drop-off or vomited in the parking lots as anxiety built up and finally overcame me. I went to the doctors regularly and we tried everything: therapy, medications, more doctors, and with time and tools, I learned to mask my discomfort in public and cope, sort of. In first grade, I was frantic because I had to do a PowerPoint presentation in front of the entire class. The topic was super important: frozen yogurt. I was presenting on my favorite flavor. My classmates went about their day, enjoying recess, eating lunch. In contrast, I was so nervous I couldn't even keep food down. Fortunately, I had a therapy appointment that day. I spent that entire 60-minute therapy session practicing my presentation with my therapist and her assorted collection of teddy bears. I hoped to suppress my anxiety for the real deal. She helped me by reminding me that the worst thing that would happen was that I'd forget my lines and actually have to read off the PowerPoint. In the end, I made it through without panicking. In case you're wondering, my favorite flavor is tart. You're probably sitting here now wondering why the heck I'm telling you about tart frozen yogurt. While yes, it's delicious, it was more about demonstrating the simplicity of things that gave me severe anxiety. Anxiety was my biggest enemy and best friend all throughout grade school. Always with me, I could never seem to shake it. And honestly, as a kid, I had no idea that other people were dealing with similar issues. It wasn't until I stumbled upon a resource in 8th grade called TeenLink that my entire trajectory of mental health changed. TeenLink is a mental health crisis line for teenagers in Washington State. It's run solely by teens who answer incoming calls and messages, with teens anonymously seeking help. Immediately, I was in awe of the work these courageous volunteers were doing, and I decided to become a trained phone worker. Over the course of 10 weeks, I learned skills through incredibly intense training to become one. 100 hours of training later, I was equipped and ready to help any teen on an array of mental health issues. Answering the phone for TeenLink opened my eyes to the broad impacts of mental health on teens. I spoke with teens about an array of issues, including suicide, eating disorders, drug, and substance abuse. I want to take a minute to share a moment at TeenLink that really stuck out to me and had a profound impact on my perception of mental health. When I was fairly new to TeenLink, I took a call from a girl who told me she was planning on killing herself. Anxious of saying the wrong thing, I carefully walked her through the suicide action steps that I had learned, but nothing seemed to help calm her down. She'd already self-harmed that night and was bleeding. I just remember the feeling of so desperately wanting to be able to do something to help, not just be a voice over the phone. But that's all I had to offer. Thankfully, eventually she was able to call her mom and pursue professional help at the hospital. During this call, I just remember feeling useless trying to help, but eventually realized that by simply listening and being there for her, that was all she needed to call her mom and pursue professional help. And so sometimes that's all people need: someone to listen without action or judgment. TeenLink has offered me insight into the lives of teens in Washington State and helped me better understand my own mental health. Oftentimes, something that shocks people is learning that I'm a perfectionist. In my mind, everything has to be just so. However, after helping people with their own mental health, I think I realized I also needed to do a better job with my own. Thus, I kind of finally prioritized myself. I let myself just sit in bed some nights and do nothing, or take a 30-minute shower. I realized I just don't always have to be on the go. And most importantly, I learned that nothing's ever going to be perfect, including myself, no matter how hard I try. You have to be able to strike a balance in life between everyday craziness and carving out time to take care of yourself. I want to share that my anxiety still rides with me every day. I've learned to recognize it, the triggers, and sometimes how to use it to my advantage. I still am and probably always will be a work in progress. But I have learned, and know others will too, that caring for ourselves is not selfish, but a necessity. So I challenge you to think about your forms of self-care and if you take time to prioritize your mental well-being. Because at one point, I certainly didn't. But my story doesn't end there. This idea of self-care resources really inspired me. Today, teens want to confide in their peers, those who understand them and won't give immediate judgment or take action. Because I saw that access to resources for mental health were lacking across my state, school, and community, especially from a teen perspective, I created a mental health club at my school called Care Essential Club. In the Care Essential Club, we nurture a safe, inclusive environment with open-ended discussions about mental health and spread the message that taking time for self-care is essential. We hold seminars about eating disorders, safety planning for someone with suicide ideation, ways to find a dependable adult to confide in, and so much more. This November, we actually held a seminar on anxiety and depression. A local therapist came in and taught students how to better understand and identify their own levels of anxiety. Over 120 students from Inglemoor participated, which was incredibly amazing to see. While this club has made outstanding headway at my school, I wanted to scale my work throughout the community for greater impact. With the assistance and support of both my principal, Mr. Desatels, and Superintendent Dr. Reed, I packaged the Care Essentials Club into a detailed club-in-a-box model and published it on the web. That's how I started my own youth mental health nonprofit, Teen Self Health. As I'm sure you have heard, when you start a nonprofit, funding can be quite a challenge. Lucky for me, I discovered the North Shore Schools Foundation early on in my work. Once they started working with me, my donations quickly accelerated. I began to make Care Essentials clubs available to schools across the district and Washington State. My goal is to provide access to mental health clubs and resources for any high schoolers who needed it. Today, I've branched into 8 different school districts in Washington State, and I'm excited to continue to scale my work next year at college. In a small way, nurturing this nonprofit helps me cope with the loss of 2 of my family members from suicide and better understand why they did what they did. I want to preface that none of this work in advocacy could have been possible without some amazing role models and organizations who stepped up when it mattered. Now, I'll be perfectly candid. As a teen, it's oftentimes really difficult to find adults who genuinely want to help and listen to the work you're doing. My work could not have been done without the North Shore Foundation, a place that listens to the youth voice. The North Shore Schools Foundation was the first organization that truly wanted to listen and learn and helped me accelerate and amplify my nonprofit into schools. Much of my work's media attention came easily post-COVID. For the most part, I was at the right place at the right time, but it truly could not have been possible without the attention it received from the foundation. I want to just take a second to give special thanks to Carmen and Susan from the foundation. These 2 amazing ladies were the first people who reached out to me and offered to help fund me. They connected me with a network that unlocked me to reach more people than I could honestly ever imagine. With this help, I was able to get my resource recognized officially on the North Shore Mental Health page and in several other school districts. Being backed up by this organization truly changed the game for my advocacy efforts. They mentored me on how to best run my nonprofit, but most importantly, they listened. They listened to my voice, listened to my vision, and helped me turn that vision into reality. You heard the Youth Advisory Board share the mission of the foundation. I'm proud to say that because from the help of this amazing place, I've been able to stand up for such a vital, important topic and remove stigmas, creating change right in our community. So if you're someone in the audience who believes in supporting youth voice, innovation, and change, know that you are supporting the right organization just for that. Thank you.